Hello and welcome to the channel. Today, as you see on your screen, we're talking about how to create status trackers in Excel. This is especially good for project managers, or if you're someone who uses spreadsheets in Excel or others, you might learn something new today. If you're new to the channel, welcome. My name is Onem. I'm a project manager and a solutions consultant. And here we talk about project management, productivity, and how to leverage technology for your business and for your work. So let's go. This is the Excel sheet that we're going to use today to practice the status trackers. I got this from Smart Sheets for another course that I'm doing. So I'm just going to hide the columns that we're not going to be using for this particular tutorial. Let me go ahead to hide those. So let's just assume that this is the spreadsheet that we're using, and these are the different status trackers that are available that we're going to be talking about today. And we're going to try to model it after what we have. Remember that ordinarily you'll be using either one or two for a particular project. So this is just to give you an idea of what's available as a project manager. We're not data analysts, so we don't have to delve too deep into Excel, but if you know it, good. But we're just going to talk about the status trackers today. So this is an example of a conference, an event that is happening, a project, and it has different tasks or subtasks under a task. So I've gone ahead to create this before. So under travel, we're going to be using this and to talk about how we're going to create the status trackers. If you want to follow along, please pause the video and create yours as well. You don't have to create the whole thing. Just you can use flight or driving, lodging, and per diem for your own sheet, and you follow along as I'm doing mine. If the video is too long, I'm going to cut it into two parts just so that it will be not too long and pretty self-explanatory. Okay, so the first status tracker we're going to talk about is this. So for most projects, you have not started, completed, in progress, delayed, or whatever your project uses. So we can determine what to use. In this case, we're using these parameters. To create that, what we do is we select our cell and we go under the data tab. Under the data tab, you're going to see data validation. You click on data validation and click on data validation again. It brings out this pop-up. Under settings, you're going to see under allow where it has any value. Go ahead to click on the drop down arrow there and you can choose list from the options that you have available. We have to choose or select or write down a source, and our source will be whatever we want to appear when we select anything in the drop down arrow. In this case, we're going to go with not started, completed, in progress, delayed. So these are our four options. Make sure that you check your spellings properly, because if the spelling is different, it's not going to select it. If it's different from what you want, it's not going to work. So go ahead to say okay. And immediately you see a drop down arrow appear beside the cell that we chose before. So we're going to go ahead to, when you see the cross at the end, press down on your button and go ahead to extend it down and enter. So the same thing we did for this particular cell, we'll copy to the other cells as well. So now whenever we want to choose any status update, we see here that we have the drop down arrow available. So we can decide that for flight and driving, we haven't started yet. We haven't started booking. For lodging, it's in progress. And for per diem, we haven't started yet. But we see that these are just a bunch of writing that we have available here. For this one, it seems more colorful. So your eye gets drawn to whatever is happening here. So in progress is yellow and delayed is red. So we know that there's something happening to equipment rental. So we want to do the same thing here. To do so, we're going to use something else in Excel. So just go ahead to copy and now go under your home page. Under the home tab, you're going to see conditional formatting. Click on it and go under new rule. So we need a rule in order to tell Excel what to do whenever we select any of those options in the drop down menu. So you see a bunch of options here. We're going to choose the second one that says format only cells that contain. So we want that whenever we choose cells that contain this particular text, then we want it to do a particular thing. So to do that, we're going to choose under this format only cells with, we'll choose specific text containing. So we'll go ahead to say not started. That's the first we're going to start with. So whenever not started is shown in a particular cell in the drop down, we'll make sure that the fill color changes. So what we want the fill color to be, not started is gray. So we go ahead to choose gray. It can be any color you want, but let's go ahead to choose this gray and we say okay. And okay, you see that is already changing, but let's go ahead to do the rest as well. So we do new rule. So follow along. Format only cells that contain. We change this to specific text. In this case, we're going to say in progress. Make sure your spellings are correct. What do you do when it's in progress? Change it to yellow, the fill color to yellow. Just make sure that the fill tab is chosen, is selected. Say okay and okay again. You do it another time, another rule. Only cells that contain specific text. In this case, we'll say delayed. What happens if it's delayed? Choose red. Okay. Okay. This time I'm going to say manage rules. You see all our rules here. So I'm accessing the new rule tab through the manage rules button. So I went to conditional formatting and I chose manage rules, and I can also do new rule here, or I can decide to edit any of these other rules that we've done before. If I want to edit the delayed rule, for instance, I'll choose this and I'll do edit rule, and I can change the color, for instance, but we don't want to do that. What we want to do is actually create a new rule for completed. So we do the same thing we've done before. So format only cells that contain. We choose specific text. In this case, we say completed, and we want that to be green. We say okay and okay. So these are our rules that are here. If you want to delete any of the rows, you can go ahead to do so. You apply and you say okay. What happens is that since this hasn't started, when we start it and we go in progress, you see that it changes to yellow. If the one in progress changes to completed, it changes to green. And if we haven't started the per diem for some reason, and money problems is causing a lot of issues, we say that it's delayed, it changes to red. So we know that we have to pay attention. So that's how easy it is. So if you want to create a status tracker in your Excel sheet or in your spreadsheet, especially inside of Excel, this is the way to do it, and it's the simplest form to do it. So that's for that. The second option we'll be talking about are checkboxes. Everybody knows what checkboxes are. These are an example of the checkboxes that I've used for this particular row or column. So to include a checkbox, what you do is you need one of the tabs that are not regularly available in Excel. You need the developer tab. If you don't have the developer tab as part of your ribbon here, what you do is just you hover over any of the options that are here, right click and go to customize the ribbon. When you customize the ribbon, you arrive at the main tab, and if you don't have the developer tab checked, you go ahead to check it. So this tab right here, go ahead to check it and you say okay. What happens is that you now have the developer tab available. So with your cell selected, go under the insert option under your developer tab, and you see that the checkbox is available here. Go ahead to select it and you come to your cell, drag and drop. It will form a checkbox with some writing on the right. So if I just expand that, you see that it comes with some writing that actually says text box. We don't need that. So we double click inside of it and delete the text. So whatever text has come with it, we go ahead to delete. So in this case, we're left with only the checkbox. If you want to select the checkbox, you press Control on your keyboard and click if you're using Windows. And shift your checkbox to where you want it, whether in the middle, left, or right, wherever you want it. In this case, I want it in the middle. So we have a checkbox that is available. So if I click my checkbox, if you just want a simple checkbox in your spreadsheet, that if you complete a particular task, you go ahead to check that particular checkbox, then you'll be done at this time. But we want a situation where you see how if I uncheck any of these checkboxes, my percentage here decreases or increases based on what I've checked. So that's what we want to achieve here. So we've gone ahead to create this particular checkbox. I'm just going to do the rest of camera. So the same thing we did, I'm going to show you a second time and then I'll do the rest of camera and then we'll come back. So what I did was I went under the developer tab, I went to insert, I selected the checkbox and I put it in this particular cell. I double clicked in it and removed the whatever text is inside of it. And if I want to move it wherever I want, I can do so. I click out of it and I have only the checkbox left. If I want to select that particular checkbox, I click on the control on my keyboard and press the select and I can go ahead to move it. Now that we've created our checkboxes, what we want to do is achieve the same thing we're doing here, where when we uncheck, the percentage here decreases or increases based on the checking or unchecking of whatever boxes we've done. So before to do that, what we do first is we have to link each checkbox to a particular cell, and you know why it's important in a minute. So remember to select the particular checkbox, you press Control on your keyboard and select, and it selects the particular checkbox. Go ahead to right click, Format Control, that's what you select. And then you see where it says cell link, you click inside of that box and then you select whatever cell on your spreadsheet you want to link to that particular checkbox. In this case, we're going to maintain the cell where the checkbox has been placed already. When we go ahead to select that cell, just like I've done, by clicking on it, on the cell, we say OK. It means that these two have been linked already. Whenever you click on the box, it says true at the bottom of it. You can see the true there. And if you click out of the box, it says false. So that's what the link does. If we had linked it to this particular cell, it would have meant that this false or true that you see beneath the checkbox will appear here. But we don't like how it's looking here right now. It just means that there's a lot of, like, it looks a little bit tacky. So in order to change it, what we do is we select that particular cell, we go under font color, which we have here, and we change it to white, or the same as your background color. So if your background color is orange, for instance, just make sure that your text under is orange as well. What happens is that the text box and whatever true or false you have under doesn't show. I'm going to go ahead to do the rest as well to link it to the particular cell that we have it on, and then we'll come back. Now we've gone ahead to link our checkboxes to the cells that we want them to be linked to. We want to achieve this particular option we did here, where whenever we check or uncheck a particular checkbox, it changes the percentage at the top. To do so, we need a formula. So what we'll do is we'll select the cell where we want the percentage to be, and then we'll go ahead to put the formula at the top or inside of it. In Excel, of course, you know that to do a formula, you need to start with equals. So I'm just going to paste the formula here. So it's equals count if. So the count if formula is what you use. And then you open bracket. Anyway, let me do it from the beginning so it's easier for you to follow. So you do equals and then count if comes out. So you double click and the bracket opens. You need to select a range. The range is the number of cells that you have right underneath. So if you have 5, 6, 7 cells that are your tasks that have the checkboxes, you select that range, comma, and then you need to choose a criteria. The criteria, the count if counts how many of a particular criteria that you're deciding. So in this case, we want it to select the amount of true that we have. How many true do we have? Remember that we have true under these checkboxes. So it's just counting how many true we have. So whenever the box is checked, it counts the number of trues. We close the bracket, we put a slash, we want it to go through the rows, and we open the bracket again and we choose the same range. We need to choose an array, and the array is still the number of cells that we selected as well. We close the bracket and we enter. Voila, there you go, 100%. Why? Because all of these checkboxes are checked. If I go ahead to uncheck one, it reduces. Why does it reduce to 67%? Because there are three cells and each cell over 100 is about 33%. So if you go ahead to uncheck a second one, you see that it's 33. If all of them are checked, it's going to be 100%. Here where we have 5 check boxes, each of them is 20 because they're being divided by 100. So if I go ahead to check 3, it will be 60, 4 will be 80, and 5 will be 100. So that's how easy it is to create it. So just as a summary, we first created the check boxes using the developer tab. We went ahead to link the checkbox to the cells, and that formed true. We use the formula of count if to determine how many truths are here. That way, whenever we check or uncheck the boxes, this number changes. So that's just a summary. The video is getting a little bit long, so I'm going to stop it here for part one. Go ahead to watch part two, please, because that way you get a holistic view of the other options that we have available, which are these ones that I've selected here. So if you've come to this point of the video, please like, please subscribe, please comment to let me know that you like the content. Don't forget the bell notification, because that way if I post something new, you'll be the first to know. So for now, see you soon and have a lovely day.